The Intertech Group and the Zucker family are proud to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment.
Welcome to We the Women. This is our celebration of the 19th Amendment. Exactly 100 years ago, on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women the right to vote. To celebrate, we'll be talking to women from around South Carolina, thought leaders, movers and shakers. We'll ask them about how they have used their voice and what they have done to contribute to our great democracy. Enjoy the conversation.
Hi, Hillary. Thanks for coming in to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, just want to talk to you a little bit about your job, about what you do. So can you share with me?
Okay. I'm the Stormwater Manager for the town of Mount Pleasant, and that means that I run a program that manages flooding or works to prevent flooding and works with water quality. So when we have rain events, the pollutants that are flushed off of our land into the creeks and marshes, so trying to make sure that we keep our town and our local environment healthy while we build resiliency in our community.
What got you into that job?
It was a very lucky occurrence. I was working for the town of Mount Pleasant while working on my business degree, and I was working in the offices, and they created a new position, and they wanted somebody to work with a brand new program called Stormwater Management, where they were working on flood projects, and they needed somebody to go out and talk to the citizens and talk to them about what was going on and to listen to their problems and work to solve their problems. And so I stepped into that position, and then over time it's evolved. Became in charge of the capital projects and the directing the maintenance work and still working with the citizens. And then we got environmental regulations for water quality, so I had to build those programs and tie them into our daily operations.
Yeah. Is it common for women to be in this position?
It is now. I see more and more women in specifically the stormwater industry, but which is a combination of engineering and business and regulation and science. So you see people with different disciplines coming together, and we're seeing more and more women in the industry.
What are some challenges being in this field, and are there any challenges that arise being a woman in this field?
Every day is different. We never know what's going to happen with the weather or with the environment. A lot of the things that we encounter are incidental. So you have to be on your toes. You have to know a wide variety of programs, and you have to be willing to adapt. So there is opportunity for women to step in, but the challenges are, I think, personal. You have to be willing to adapt and willing to learn and change as things evolve. So if you're able to do that, I think you can be successful in the program. So.
Gotcha. One thing we had talked about earlier was that growing up, you kind of had an interest in wildlife. Can you tell me a little bit about when you were younger?
Well, I'm first generation to the country, so my parents moved here after World War II and met. And then growing up, I spent times up in the marshes and beaches up in Cape Cod in Maine. So really getting down into the pluff mud and having the freedom to explore. I think I spent a lot of my youth underwater, kind of observing fish, and it became a passion of mine. So an interest in marine biology started there. And then I went to an all-girls school. So for middle school and high school, I had an opportunity to be a part of a small community of women who basically ran everything. They were the leadership of the school. There was no competition between anybody, between male and female. Everything that needed to be done, we did. And I think that really created a great foundation for how I see myself today, of just being kind of equal with everybody. It's a personal opportunity that I had, and I think it really helped me just to feel comfortable in whatever I do these days. So.
What can you talk a little bit about like the community feeling that you had at your school?
We had really fabulous programs. We had we were responsible for the school. So we had programs where the students were supervisors and we cleaned the school. We'd clean the library, and you had workers and supervisors, and you had to apply for those jobs. We went out into the community and we did community service, giving back. We were studying the local environment, but all of the leadership and everything that we did was focused around the school's motto, which was "Do it with thy might." So that no matter what you did, whether you decided to be just a mom, whatever you did was that core belief to do it with thy might. And so that played a really big part in everything that we accomplished.
Can you talk to me about some challenging moments in your career or in your line of work?
I've had some interesting things. So in stormwater, we deal with engineers and contractors a lot of times, which over time has been a somewhat male-dominated industry. There are plenty of women out there today, but we've had some fun times kind of going on construction sites, and people don't always see you as being an authority or understanding the process. And over time, I've also worked on different projects where I've operated a backhoe and done other things, and I make sure that whenever I get involved with something, I learn. I do my reading and my research. And we've gone out on construction sites and we've had people say, hey girl, it's fine, don't worry about it, I've got this, you don't need to pay attention. But we're there in a serious capacity. So we've sort of learned to blow that off. And we've had other people talk to us about different things on the construction site. You don't need to worry about that material over there. I don't need to do anything because that's my structural fill and I need to use that later. And we have the capacity and the knowledge to look at it and say, well, actually, no, that's not right. So it is, I wouldn't say it's been a challenge, but it's trying to work around people who have some preconceived notions that you might not know what you're doing. I've also had to go out to the job site in high heels and skirts and put my safety vest on and my hard hat on and climb over the guardrail and kind of look at something because they needed an inspection right away. And I was coming out of a professional meeting and had to make it happen. So a little bit more oriented in safety gear these days than some of the older days, but it was kind of a fun adventure.
Gotcha. We were talking a little bit about some state and regional groups that you're seeing in the last couple of years, a lot more women part of. Could you tell me about that?
Right. So I'm a part of quite a number of professional associations. One is the Municipal Association, so the South Carolina Association of Stormwater Managers. And that is people who work in stormwater from all over the state of South Carolina. And we are over 160 people as membership in that group. And when I first started, there were a handful of women, maybe 5 in the room, and the rest were men. And I was actually elected by that body in 2002 to be the president. So that was kind of, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a biologist, but they felt that I had the skills to lead them even at that early stage. And now when I go to the meetings, the room is almost half women. And I think that's in part because of the science and the industry has really opened up and the need to learn and move forward, but it's a really great thing to see. The other association is the Southeastern Regional Stormwater Association. So that's states from all over the Southeastern region coming together, working on stormwater problems, policy, regulation, and advocacy up to the national level. And they are been around for more than 10 years, and I was also likewise elected by the body to represent the state of South Carolina as a board member, and then was president of the association a couple of years ago. So it's a pleasure to serve, but I see more and more women showing up at the meetings and being a part of the leadership as well.
What's it feel like seeing that change over the last couple of years?
I think it feels good. I've been blessed that everyone I've encountered, and even in my early days at work, even the male mentors that I had were more interested in my brain and the fact that I was willing to learn and to converse. So I've been lucky that I've never had somebody say, you don't belong here. or this isn't your place. In fact, they've really opened the doors. So all of my colleagues from around the region have been really great. And the goal is to keep that door open. And I think the door is wide open. So it's a matter of being comfortable enough to walk in and say, I belong here and I have something to share. And that's...
Now, we talked about earlier moments that you're really proud of, or accomplishments you're very proud of.
Right.
There was professional and personal. So
Right. So personally, I think my biggest accomplishment are my children. I have 3 really awesome children, 2 boys and a girl, and they are all really great people. I'm really proud of just who they are. So I don't know how much of a hand I had in that directly, hopefully as a role model for them, to that working hard and being focused can help you be a good person and hopefully be successful in your life. My mother-in-law, she's 93, and she uses the term solid citizen. And I really think that is a goal for me, how to be a good person in the community. And I see that with my children as well, that they are interested in their community and wanting to live in a good place. And so being engaged in that is really important for me.
and that's included helping out with Girl Scouts, Boy
Right,
Scouts.
absolutely. My daughter was in Girl Scouts for a while, and then my eldest son was an Eagle Scout, and I'm active in their Boy Scout troop still. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to mentor young men and women in their journey to adulthood, just to give them an idea of what it means to be helpful in your community and be a part of it. And that's a really big part of the core part of those programs. So I think it's a really great fit.
So one thing you said was a solid citizen,
Mhm.
something that your mother-in-law kind
Right.
of
Pushed on her boys, and I've kind of adopted it along the way. Yeah.
So what makes a solid citizen, or how will you say, yeah, my kids are definitely
Right.
solid citizens?
I think you have to be open to listening to other people and their challenges and needs. I think you have to be willing to share of yourself back to your community. So whether it's something as simple as helping out your neighbor, or picking up litter, or voting and being engaged in what's happening in your community, and not just for or against, but understanding what's really happening throughout the core of your community and how to make change happen in a positive manner is really important. So you have to be outside of yourself and willing to give something of yourself to others, not necessarily for a return, that you're in it for the greater community and greater good. So it doesn't have to be an award-winning action, but I think even those small selfless actions are important in being a part of your community.
And being a solid citizen.
Yes.
Now your mother-in-law has a really cool past as well, right?
So she's 90, she'll be 93 this year. And she, of that age, when she was younger, was growing up in the time when the women's right to vote had passed and was coming to fruition. And she went to work. It was World War II, but she saw the Depression, and she went to work, and she had her own money, and she traveled and had adventures, and she went out probably in a time where it was unusual for young women to travel, and she spent a good part of her younger life just, I would say, enjoying life, but taking advantage of some of the opportunities that had opened up. And then once she decided to get married and have children, then the idea of growing her children and really developing them and helping them became important. But she's a very strong lady. She knows what she likes. She's got a lot of skills that I'm not good at, but I think she's a really strong person, and I admire her for all of those.
And then your family side. Your
Oh boy,
great-grandmother,
right. My great-grandmother, so on my mother's side, she was one of the first women show jumpers on a show jumping circuit in Europe. So back in the early 1900s, she was breaking stride. And that's kind of an example. I had an opportunity to meet her, and really strong and gracious lady, but she let us go out and play and explore and do things. It wasn't an inhibited type of relationship. My mom was also a really big, huge mentor for me. She taught us how to fix bicycles and build projects for school, and if she didn't know how to do it, we went to the library and we got a book and we figured out how to make it happen. And that's part of what I try to pass on to my kids today. So.
Wow. And then going to all-girls school, being surrounded by that
Right.
Powerhouse.
Right. Sort of foundations. I mean, you're really building foundations and passing a piece of that along, and I think I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by women my whole life, from childhood until even now, who are really just, they're strong and they're passionate and they're absolutely amazing. My group of friends these days, I'm in awe of some of what they do. They should be here talking today, that they're really out there as teachers and in the medical field and working hard and helping people, and I'm just glad to be one of them. So.
Now, can you share one or a few of your biggest professional accomplishments?
Well, I got an email today right before I walked in here from a colleague, and he said to me, thank you for actually trying to make a difference, to really working on solving local water quality problems and not just checking boxes and passing things on. So our program in Mount Pleasant started out really small, very little bit of funding, and we still don't have enough today to solve all of our region's problems, but I just really was given the opportunity to grow the town's program and to find a way to make it work and make it functional. And now I have staff. I have 8 people working underneath me now. My 2 top lead managers are both women, and they're there because they're awesome at what they do, and they know their work, and they do a great job, and I'm happy to have them. But I'm just really proud of the program that we're building. I think it's really important for the future of the region, not just Mount Pleasant, but Charleston and the state of South Carolina, to help our communities as we grow, to grow smartly and grow strong and be there for the future. So.
Yeah, water management is pivotal for the low country.
It is.
Right now.
It is. It's where we live, and we have to learn to live with it. And there's a part of it. It's not just about local government doing it, but every person who lives here has a role to play in their own personal resiliency, but also in the community. So it's not calling somebody necessarily to fix something for you, but also what can you do to help the community out as well.
Being a solid citizen.
Being a solid citizen, that's right. Sometimes it means cleaning out your own ditch, but I do that on my street. I think that all of those things help us to be stronger as a community and work together.
So you grew your department from you to now 8
Right.
people.
That's right. And I've certainly had lots of other support and folks within my own department, and our administration has challenged me. There's always a new threshold to meet, and I'm really just blessed to be surrounded by people who've helped me along the way, both in the agency and outside, but to keep growing and keep raising the bar and going for the next big challenge and supporting that. So.
Gotcha. Now, you had said you're not in the field as much, but when you are in the field, like, what have been some interesting things that you've seen or projects you've worked on?
Well, I've been through a lot of hurricanes. I used to get to go out and see what was happening during the large flood events, and I still do from time to time. We've found strange things in storm drains over the years. We've found pumpkins and engines and motors and all kinds of weird things. But I've really enjoyed the time to go out and learn about our community, maybe from the backside and following ditches and drains, but I've seen beautiful wetlands and really some tremendous parts of our low country area. And I've had to hop down in storm drains and look at cracks and issues and problems, and try to really make sure that our infrastructure is there for the future. So construction sites are always an interesting place to be, and watching how we grow, but being a part of making sure that that is something that's sustainable and there for the future. So.
It's not just looking at the new storm drains going in, it's going in and checking.
And checking the old ones as well. I mean, they're there to protect us. So how are they working? What are we doing? Where do the crews need to go? Do we own them? Are they somebody else's? And who do we need to know? Do we need to contact somebody with the county or the state for help with their system? Or do we need to educate our citizens on, this is yours and this is how you can help protect yourself and help us with the system and manage that. So we go out into the schools, which is one of my favorite things to do, or at least we have until recently, but we do educational programs with the kids to teach them about their community and really connect them to the storm drain that's at their school or at their house, and how that works overall within the community. And it also gives us an opportunity to challenge them as they're growing up to look into their future. What do you want to be when you grow up? Or if this interests you, here are 100 different jobs that you can go after. So you can be a laborer, or you can be an engineer or an operator or a scientist, but to really open their eyes to their future. And their future both here in the Low Country and with stormwater in general, if they're interested. So.
Specifically for young women who might be interested or might not know a lot about this field, like how would you sell it to them, or in what way would you, talk to them about this?
Right. So I think for anybody who's interested in the field, there are a lot of different avenues that you can go into. You're helping your community. You're helping to keep it safe. You're helping to keep it healthy and productive. So that's the end goal. But if you are interested in the mechanics of operations, there are people we need to run our vehicles and our equipment, to do the cleaning and the maintenance, to install the systems and how to do it properly. And I think there's a lot of pride in doing a good job and making something that in the end maybe nobody sees. Nobody sees your work's under the ground and they don't see it, but when it rains and it works well, that's a great accomplishment. On the engineering side, we're being challenged by change. Higher sea levels, rainier seasons, different products that are being invented. How do we solve the problems? So the engineers are really working on solutions and finding ways that we can mitigate our risk and still have a great, vibrant community. So there's a kind of a lot of opportunities there. And on the science side, the folks in our science community are really trying to solve some of those problems. Why are we having problems? Where are they coming from? And so it's kind of like detective work in some cases. And there again, there's an opportunity for technology and innovation and trying to find ways to solve the problems that we're finding, or find solutions that can then be solved by the engineers. So there are a wide variety of avenues, but there's also a role for people to take that heavy science and heavy engineering and give it back to the public. Public education's been a really big part of it. So like the outreach into the schools, how do you take all of that information and get it into the hands of children or residents? So we have folks that help us with communications and graphics and just outreach and activities, that there are a lot of other things that you might never think of yourself as being in stormwater. But we need help with graphic design and getting out videos and productions on what we're doing so that we can really engage the whole community.
Right, it's how to explain a combined sewer system to
Right.
little ones and all those technical terms that
Right.
trip everybody up.
We used to have a phrase of, we need to figure out how to make stormwater sexy so that people will be interested in it. But there really is, I work with people who are like, I never knew that I would end up in this industry doing what I'm doing when I went after an art degree or I went after something else. But there are tremendous opportunities, I think, in every industry for people to become engaged. And for me, it's that giving back to your community. solving the local problems and the local issues. And while I get to work on some national level things as well, it's the local things that really come back to my heart the most.